Reports today that Newcastle United are hoping to have £40 million goalkeeper James Trafford signed, sealed and delivered for the first week in July. As well, looking at the possibility of a Harvey Barnes swap deal in the hope of landing Nottingham Forest's Alanga. And as reports come out that Gahey could well be off to Liverpool, Newcastle instead are, as I think most fans have said for a while now, looking abroad. In fact, are being linked to 21-year-old Atalanta centre-back Scalvini this morning. Yes, guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. Lovely sunshine, sat in the garden, cans of beer, great. But on the transfer front, everything had gone pretty quiet. So I had a feeling things would start to heat up this week as we approach the final week of this year's PSR, yearly PSR. So from the 1st of July, that's when I think things will start to really start moving forward a little bit. And we will talk about that and the PSR deadline a little bit in this video as well. But first, if you haven't subscribed, please be sure to do so. I just hit 49,000 subscribers. If I can hit 50 this summer, it would be awesome just to have that, accolade of getting to 50k would be surreal. As I've mentioned already, for years doing videos for, just a few hundred people, well, for a few people doing videos, getting no views for quite some time. So to now have people watching, interested in interacting with your comments down below on your thoughts on everything in this video, please get involved. And we will start off with, we'll start off with James Trafford. It's a player that Newcastle have been linked with, and it is fairly windy, so hopefully the audio is okay. It's hot, but windy. But yes, James Trafford, a player that Newcastle have been linked with for some time now. Obviously, we didn't bring him on board last year. It's rolled over into this year, and reports today that things are going full steam ahead, that £40 million is the fee. But interestingly, and I think this is funny, not until in July, and fans are asking why. Now, obviously, the easy answer for that is, as I mentioned at the start of this video, PSR, the PSR deadline. We're waiting for the start of July because that's when the money comes in. And I think that's true. But what I also think is true is that we have money to spend this PSR. And when Eddie Howe's spoken about getting things done early, nothing's really going on. I think fans have said, well, we had money to spend this PSR. Why haven't we done it? Why are we waiting for July? Well, interestingly enough, what I'm actually hoping is for transfers like this one. We've been in talks with Burnley for ages. Whether we're signing him on the 31st of June or the 1st of July, it's still the same player. It's still the same conversation. It doesn't need to get rushed through. What might need to get rushed through is a sudden team, Southampton, Aston Villa, maybe a player that we weren't or have not had conversations with suddenly opens up at the end of June and Newcastle are able to move for them. Because it's one thing to say, oh yeah, we've got 50 million left of this PSR window, it's gone on James Trafford. Well, we could have used the next PSR window on James Trafford. All of a sudden, a Ramsey from Aston Villa, a Dibbling from Southampton, Leicester are having question marks, Everton are having question marks. Is it that Newcastle are being a little bit tactful and actually just leaving those transfers for a later date because we want to be available and ready to go this week? I hope so. I saw somebody was floating that around online. I've seen a few. I thought, you know what, that's a really good point. And I hope it's true. I hope that, some of the transfers that we're not talking about, it's because Newcastle are being smart and are just holding our cards close to our chest. We're not moving too quick. Am I making up a reason why we've not signed anyone for the first 3 weeks? Maybe I'm being far too gullible and nice. Who knows? We've still got a long way to go this video. Hopefully not. The video lasted 5-6 minutes. This summer transfer window, but I think it could well play into our hands if that is the tactic, and maybe we could have something that I'm not really going to talk about today. A player suddenly becomes available Aston Villa a ring on the 30th of June going, Eddie, need your help, pal. Are you going to sign this guy for 15 million? You know, Rodgers, he was heavily linked away from Aston Villa. Fair enough for a big fee. That's gone very quiet. Presumably, Villa will still need to make moves and do stuff before the end of this month. Can Newcastle keep themselves available for that? So, yeah, the Trafford one, 40 million. You know, that's a different question mark altogether. You can let me know your thoughts on the Trafford one down below, but it sounds like it's going ahead. It sounds like we're still making talks. It sounds like we're going to pay the fee that Burnley want, which again, question mark on that one. But we are just waiting for maybe the next PSR window to roll around, as it were, the new PSR financial year. But speaking of PSR and finances, we did a swap deal with Nottingham Forest last year. It definitely wasn't one that went in our favour. Having looked at how good Elliot Anderson's been for England in the under-21s, could Newcastle be looking to do another swap deal with Nottingham Forest this summer? That's right, Anthony, and the wind is actually kicking off. You might not even be able to hear it. Sat here with my windbreaker behind us. And I've got my mic on as well, which I think is a big help. So hopefully it sounds glistening for you guys. But yes, Anthony Alanga, a player that Newcastle are heavily interested in. Watched a video of him getting a parking ticket the other day. You know, things that social media does for you there. He was getting a haircut. Not in Newcastle, like he wasn't on the big market. He was presumably in Nottingham somewhere. But yes, Anthony Alanga has been heavily linked to Newcastle. The fee discussed is around 50 million. And essentially, I don't think it's that Newcastle are against paying it. I think Nottingham Forest are probably holding off to see if anybody else is interested and if anyone else wants to offer any money. And people want replacements. You know, Anthony Alanga, arguably, you know, the best player for Forest last year, or certainly creative-wise. You know, fair enough, Gibbs White. I think maybe I did have too many beers at the weekend. Chris Wood, Elliot Anderson. There's a handful of players there, but Alanga, you know, behind Jacob Murphy, by the way, the player we were trying to replace him with, he was placed behind him in goals and goal contributions this season. Well, Harvey Barnes is a man who's potentially being linked the other way. Honestly, I can't see it. Barnes was linked away in the January. Barnes had an injury quite early on and took some time to get stuck into Newcastle. Barnes was reported to have wanted to leave the club after not being here for very long because Anthony Gordon was taking his place. All of those things were fixed really at the second half of last season. He got his chance in the team. He showed, you know, arguably that he can fight for his position alongside Gordon, that he is far more direct on goal, that he did give some crucial goals and assists last season, and he played for Leicester. And I don't know how that would go down with the Forest fans, you know, local rival going their way. You know, maybe they don't necessarily see it that way. I really don't know. But if you were going to talk to me about letting one of our left-sided players go, I think Gordon's probably the one with the bigger question mark on him rather than Barnes. And you guys can again let me know your thoughts on this one. Obviously, Alanga's a right-sided, but we've already got Barnes and Gordon on the left. Really, we're trying to bulk up the right-hand side, not let go of some of the left-hand side. Obviously, Alanga's essentially ball-footed, could play both sides, but the conversation is Newcastle have money to spend this season, and I think we will look to let players go. I think the likes of a Target need to be talked about, and a few others. One of the many goalies. Can we send Vlaco Dimas back the other way? Wilson looks like he's going to come off the books. Sean Longstaff, Willock, Barnes isn't one of them. Really, the only reason this would happen would be to, I guess, satisfy FFP. I don't think it would be a swap deal. It would be, well, if we'll buy Alanga, if you buy Barnes, we'll sell you Alanga for a little bit less if you buy Barnes. So, but we're not there now. The reports are we don't need that. So I can see why it's there. I think because Barnes was linked away previously, because Barnes, you know, reportedly wanted to leave previously. I don't know where he is now. Does he still want to go? I don't know. Is he happy that he's won his trophy and he's going to walk off into the sunlight, the sunset? I've no idea. But we'll pay 40 million for him. So really, we'll be looking for a big fee. If you're talking 50 million Alanga, how much do you want for Barnes? What, the 40 million we got? and I don't know whether they would go for that. So yeah, it's an interesting one on that one with the Barnes stuff. But as I say, we have been, I think fans have potentially criticised Newcastle for having a hard June, and a lot of that is because we're shopping in a very expensive Premier League market, and people have said, with Paul Mitchell leaving, has that kind of lost our kind of view of the foreign leagues of Europe? Well, this was rumoured last night by a few different people, and it's kind of been picked up this morning by some of the media outlets that Newcastle are in for what they have said would be their dream signing, some reports are saying, with Atalanta 21-year-old centre-back. And I must be honest, I first read it thinking it was his dream signing. He can't wait to get on the big market and, party with Tonali, which again, I'll say that was not how it was written. It was written that it would be Newcastle's dream signing, according to a few sources. And I can see why. Fantastic. 21-year-old, 6'3". Atalanta centre-back, was a big part of their Europa League winning team last season. And I can see why Newcastle are interested in him. I think as well, I've just mentioned Tonali there. I think that's one of the great things about bringing a player like Tonali over from Italy. We're showing people the route that you can have. Obviously, AC Milan are a very good side anyway. But look, come to Newcastle. It's a growing project. We're winning trophies. We're winning Champions Leagues. We're playing in the best league in the world. It's a great kind of little show of that, which I really like. But as I say, Scalvini had that great Europa League year. Won the trophy this season. Not many appearances. Has struggled with injury. Actually had an ACL tear, which kept him out from the start of the season. I think he came back around. Was it was it the end of last season? He had that injury or through the summer. Came back, I think, for maybe Christmas time, and then got himself a shoulder injury, which kept him out for the second half of the season. Bringing in a player who has had injuries, who has ACL tears, that is always going to be a concern. The only thing you can really say is that prior to that, he was a bit of a man mountain, good on the ball, right-footed, would play that right side of centre-back, challenging alongside Fabian Schär. He's from Italy, so the hope is, look at the deal we've got on a Tonali. You're looking to pay as much for James Trafford as we paid for Tonali, that is the comparison of Premier League to foreign leagues. There are players out there, there are gems out there. Tonali wasn't even a hidden gem. I think obviously the gambling stuff was possibly what helped with the fees. By the way, you can't play for a year, so you only have to pay 40 million. Hopefully we're doing a little bit more due diligence the next time we buy abroad. But the fact that he has been injured and has been far less active this year, maybe that will help settle the price. If that's a player you'd be interested in, you think it's a good thing that Newcastle are looking to players abroad, drop a like on this video. Let's see the number get up on that one. Obviously, the downside is obviously the injury stuff, but will that help with price? And if he comes through the back of it and plays great, then the medicine these days is far higher grade. We've obviously got James Bunce now, who's hopefully going to be keeping on top of that. Obviously, we've seen Sven Botman have his own troubles. So yeah, thoughts and comments on Scalvini, the centre-back, 21-year-old from Atalanta. Let me know your thoughts on. I think it's interesting. It could be the media spin, but I just saw it. I thought, you know what, it's clever. If Newcastle have purposely tried to hold off some of these deals, Alanga, Trafford, they're not going anywhere. João Pedro, they're still going to be talked about next month. Have Newcastle been careful with, Eddie Howe said he wanted to do stuff early, so who knows? If something suddenly starts happening for a PSR deadline deal that we want to have liquid cash for, we've got it here. We weren't close to our issues for the end of June, so we can jump on it. Maybe teams who would normally compete with us for these players, they've already spent heavy in June, or maybe they can't spend in June. Newcastle could well be one of the few teams who has liquid cash for the dead PSR deadline. And we can move, because we haven't just spent 40 million on Trafford, we haven't just spent 50 million on Alanga. We'll do them on the 1st of July. We're keeping our money fresh for PSR deadline. You know what? Say all of that and we'll do nothing. That's probably the way. But I would love it if it was true. Thoughts and comments on that down below. I found that really interesting when I read it this morning, and it's not really something that's kind had crossed my mind too much. 15 minutes in today, sat in what is sunny but windy weather. If you have enjoyed it, drop a subscribe. Help me hit that 50k this month. Thanks for watching, guys. Undoubtedly will be a busy transfer window, I'm sure of it. And hopefully, as I say, something later this week too. So be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.